7 spine-chilling police encounters. Revealed calls ended, yet terrifying screams haunted forever. The night air was crisp and sharp, cutting through Maplewood like a knife as Sarah sighed heavily while closing her diner's shutters. She had just endured another grueling shift, her mind swirling with the familiar chaos of serving fries and pouring coffee to tired hearts. Yet, as she prepared for bed, a prickly unease tugged at her, shadowing the routine. The dulcet silence quickly morphed when, in a blink, a crackling police radio roared to life from the next room, its static a sharp contrast to her exhausted calm. "Unexplained screams," it hissed, whispering secrets of things better left unheard, echoing from the abandoned lot down the street. A soft chill rippled through her, but she brushed it aside. Surely, just another prank. However, seconds later, an insistent thud on her front door disrupted her half-baked attempt at sleep. Her heart raced, pulse pounding like a war drum. Peering through the peephole, she confronted two officers with expressions stitched tight, their eyes revealing a heaviness that whispered of dread. "There's an escaped convict in the area," they announced coldly. Chills danced up her spine. The very thought of late-night grocery runs, a routine so normal, quickly transformed into a lawless journey past that sinister spot. Her heart tightened. What if that horror was stalking her, inching closer to her children, blissfully sleeping just a room away? As the power flickered, darkness consumed her home. Anxiety seeped through the cracks, pooling around her like a relentless tide. Outside, the world grew eerily quiet. And then it came, a wretched scream, raw, primal, and anguish-filled. The unsettling calls cascaded from the lot, twisting into a cacophony of fear that pierced her very soul. The thumping laughter from her oblivious neighbors felt like a cruel mockery against the backdrop of her rising panic. What was happening? What sinister truths lurked in the dark? How could she keep her kids safe when danger crept closer with a hungry, predatory chill? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Her heart thudded violently against her ribcage as she darted to her children's room. Panic spiraled, a relentless whip of fear enveloping her senses. What if the screams were more than mere echoes of the past? What if those sworn to protect were hiding darker secrets? Her gut twisted. Thoughts of the nightly news and its romanticized tales of heroism cracked under resentment. Just as the door creaked open, another agonizing scream split the suffocating silence, the sound lurching through her bones. Terror ignited a frantic need to break free. Every second felt tenfold. This was no longer speculation. It was a trap closing in. She clutched her children tighter, breath hitching as the calls devolved into something monstrous, something that felt heartbreakingly real. There was no time to hesitate. She pushed her mind to race ahead, but doubt clawed at her. Who could she trust when the very fabric of her world appeared ready to unravel? The door loomed like a gaping maw, and just beyond lay the truth, lurking in the shadows. The door creaked open just enough for Sarah to squeeze through, clutching her children tight. Cold air rushed in, wrapping around her like a wet blanket. In the fleeting sliver of light spilling from her home, shadows danced maliciously on the walls, mocking her existence. Outside, she could barely hear the officers' muffled warnings as dread thickened in her throat. "Stay inside! Lock the doors!" The warnings echoed, but fear gripped her. She had to know what was lurking out there. She had to protect them. Pushing her back against the doorframe, she dared to peer into the night. The lot felt alive, alive with something evil that gnawed at the edge of her consciousness. The scream rang out again, a desperate plea punctuated with panic. Not human, animalistic. She couldn't shake the thought. Her stomach knotted tighter. "Mommy?" A small voice broke through the chaos. It was Jamie, her 7-year-old, wide-eyed and trembling. "It's okay, baby, it's okay," she whispered, though her own heart thudded in her chest like a war drum. She strained to focus on the night, sweat trickling down her back, the cold air battling the rising heat within her. "Is it Daddy?" he asked, hope tinged with fear. They had lost him 2 years ago. The ache of his absence became a familiar shadow, but now was not the time to let it swallow her whole. "No, sweetie, just stay close." She held on to him tighter, her breath hitching over the encroaching dread of the unknown. Another scream sliced through the air, a screech that echoed long after it ended. No longer did it sound distant. It hung as an ominous cloud, thickening in the space between breaths. She battled her instincts, urging her trembling legs to take a step back, to close the door and shut this all out. But the sensation coursing through her pushed her forward. "Keep TV on, loud," she instructed Jamie, her voice steadying. She pointed toward the living room, using the comforting glow as a beacon. Leaving him there felt like a gamble. Every instinct screamed for her to stay put, but curiosity lurked like a spider in her mind, weaving a web she couldn't escape. As she stepped outside, the world shifted. The air carried a pungent scent, something metallic. A noise erupted nearby, not just a scream, but a low growl, a sound that seemed to rise from the pit of a darkened well, echoing up through twisted roots from hell. Out in the open, she froze. The street lamp flickered ominously, lighting up what should have been a typical neighborhood, yet every house looked like a hollow tomb. Mud squelched beneath her feet, sticky and cold, as her heartbeat echoed in her ears. She glanced nervously at the lot, shadows coiling within the darkness, writhing. Footsteps, a heavy, unsteady tread thumping through the echoing air, approached from the property line. Frantically, she searched for the source, pulse quickening in tune with her rising panic. There was no comfort in the night anymore. And then a figure emerged, cloaked in a shroud of crepuscular shadows. It swayed. Something about it was unnatural. Desperation clawed at her throat, urging her to retreat. But she couldn't turn back, not until she knew. "Stay back!" she shouted, voice trembling, bravado swirling into dust. The figure's head tilted, revealing nothing but the eerie outline of a face, murky and twisted by shadows. In a low growl that sent chills down her spine, it whispered a name, her name. And in that moment, she realized, sometimes the things we lock away can claw their way back, ready to hunt. It reached out towards her, stretching fingers impossibly long, and she stumbled backward. What had she just awakened? The terror clawed at her as she turned to run, heart racing faster than her feet could carry her. But the darkness was ready, and whatever hunted her wasn't far behind. And behind her, the laughter of her neighbors now felt like a taunt. What happened when the veil was lifted? What truth awaited beneath the surface of Maplewood? Sarah sprinted back toward the house, lungs screaming for air as her feet pounded against the wet ground. Her mind raced even faster, weaving through the possibilities of what pursued her. Were they alive? Were they one of the neighbors? Desperation clawed at her throat, choking her screams. The door slammed behind her. She twisted the lock with trembling hands, the click echoing like a gunshot in the stillness. Jamie's wide eyes locked onto her, innocence clashing fiercely with the horror creeping into the corners of their home. "Mommy, what is it?" he whispered, his voice a trembling thread in the thickening fog of fear. "Lock the windows, Jamie, now!" Her voice bordered on frantic. She moved closer to the living room window. The familiar sight of the street outside now transformed into a dark forest of shadows. Heart pounding, she peered through the blinds. The street was empty, almost too quiet. Her breath quickened as a memory clawed its way back. Another night, another scream. She shook her head, pushing it aside. No, this time was different. She could feel it in her bones, her instincts screaming. The news report had mentioned recent disturbances, a series of animal attacks. But this was more primal. This darkness was hunting something, or someone. "Mommy, I don't want to be here." Jamie's small voice trembled, sounding far too old
for his years. "Neither do I, honey, but we're going to be okay." She pulled him closer, trying to shield him with her own body. A scratching sound erupted against the wood of the house, sharp and urgent. Sarah's blood ran cold. It was too deliberate to be anything but malicious. The sound continued, escalating into a rhythm that pierced the silence like a knife. Someone, or something, was in the alley behind them, testing the barrier of safety that stood against the approaching dread. "Mommy!" Jamie screamed, pressing his small body into hers, his fear fueling hers. "Shh, stay quiet," she hissed, eyes darting to the kitchen knife on the counter. It felt futile, but she was willing to fight if it came to that. She edged toward it, each step weighed down by the suffocating air that wrapped around her like a noose. That's when the screams resumed, panicked and terrifying. They were not howls of wild animals, but human. She felt the blood drain from her face. Someone was out there. Something was attacking. A violent crash shattered the calm as the screen door burst open, revealing only darkness beyond. Heart racing, Sarah glanced back at Jamie, his eyes wide, reflecting the late-night shadows from the dim light of the living room. "Stay behind me," she whispered. She felt her fingers twitch toward the knife, her grip steadied against its smooth handle, just as a heavy silhouette appeared in the doorway, blocking the faint light. "Help!" it groaned. The voice was familiar. Was it Daddy? Sarah's voice cracked, and she barely recognized it. Reality twisted, turning her world upside down. The figure took a shaky step forward, skin stretched tight across its bones, eyes sunken and wild. "Mommy, please!" And before she could process the horror, it lunged forward, collapsing to the ground just outside the entrance. Panic twisted in her gut. Was he back? Or was this the remnant of something worse, an echo of a man she thought was gone forever? She held her breath as more laughter erupted from the night beyond, mingling with the growls that now emanated from the surrounding shadows. The atmosphere buzzed heavily, closing in on her. And then she saw the eyes. Pairs of glinting shadows blending with the darkness, hungrily watching. "Mommy!" Jamie cried out, seconds before a scream reached the air again, ripping through the facade of safety like a knife. Sarah's heart plummeted. What was happening? What was lurking just beyond reach? Something was waiting just outside their door, and it was ready to shatter whatever remained of the night. What can be kept locked away forever? What secrets had Maplewood buried deep in its haunted heart? He lay sprawled on the ground, the figure of her husband, yet so utterly foreign. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs as she tried to decipher between memory and nightmare. Is it really you?" she stammered, taking a tentative step back. His face, shadowed and gaunt, lifted toward her, sunken eyes glistening with a "Mommy, Jamie." His words tumbled weakly, the edges of his voice cracking as if breaking under the weight of repressed suffering. "Stay back!" Sarah shouted, desperation flowing like ice through her veins.
She could feel Jamie's breath, rapid and terrified against her back. They were cornered, trapped by the reality of what lay beyond their door. "Please, help me," he croaked after a long silence, reaching toward them with trembling fingers. The sight was haunting, evoking memories of the man he used to be, full of warmth, laughter, and light. But what stood before her now looked more like a vessel tormented by darkness. Scratches at the door intensified, startling her from thought. They were no longer distant rumors. The sounds were right there, alive, like fingers probing at her sanity. "Mommy," Jamie whimpered. "What's wrong with Daddy?" Sarah spun around quickly, fear igniting her instincts. "We need to get to the back room," she hissed, fear thickening her throat. She could feel the weight of the world pressing down, making each breath a struggle. "No, no!" Her husband surged forward, eyes wide with panic, as if sensing escape. He flinched, his voice a desperate growl. "You can't! They will come for you!" "What do you mean?" The questions tumbled from her lips, desperate to catch hold of any sense in this spiraling chaos. Not safe." He stumbled backward as shadows danced around them, weaving through the open door like specters drawn to a flickering flame. "I'm not who you think I am anymore." A mournful howl pierced the night, echoing through the thick walls of the house. It carried with it an echo of something primal and raw, something far too real. Each note froze her blood. "Mommy!" Jamie cried again, and uncertainty tightened around her heart. "Stay close," Sarah urged, gripping her son's hand tightly. The air vibrated with tension. She felt it in her bones. The haunting calls of whatever hunted them grew closer, mingling with her husband's rumbling crescendos of heartbreak. The lights flickered. "Sarah," he rasped, eyes darting, body trembling. He stepped barely across the threshold before slumping to the ground. "You have to run. Don't let them find you." "What do you mean?" The questions tumbled from her lips, desperate to catch hold of any sense in this spiraling chaos. Not safe." He stumbled backward as shadows danced around them, weaving through the open door like specters drawn to a flickering flame. "I'm not who you think I am anymore." A mournful howl pierced the night, echoing through the thick walls of the house. It carried with it an echo of something primal and raw, something far too real. Each note froze her blood. "Mommy!" Jamie cried again, and uncertainty tightened around her heart. "Stay close," Sarah urged, gripping her son's hand tightly. The air vibrated with tension. She felt it in her bones. The haunting calls of whatever hunted them grew closer, mingling with her husband's rumbling crescendos of heartbreak. The lights flickered. "Sarah," he rasped, eyes darting, body trembling. He stepped barely across the threshold before slumping to the ground. "You have to run. Don't let them find you." She felt a blinding force surge through her, the weight of choices bearing down hard. She could help him, but would that put Jamie at risk? Behind them, the shadows elongated, sliding beneath the door and curling around her feet like snakes poised to strike. "Mommy, I don't want to leave Daddy," Jamie pleaded, voice wavering, the chaos around them dimming the innocence that once filled his small heart. "I know, baby," she whispered, her body taut with fear, "but we have to go, now." As if summoned by her resolve, a sudden crash erupted outside, an explosion of horror flooding into presence. The door splintered, a jagged mouth of threat pushed wide open. "Look out!" Sarah screamed, pulling Jamie behind her, just as shadows poured inside, venomous teeth gnashing. Something inside her snapped. She had to choose, her heart wall or the truth. With a surge of adrenaline, she spun toward the back door, dragging Jamie with her, the oppressive darkness hot on their heels. What's forgotten can't stay buried. a voice echoed, too close now, twisting reality as the shadows howled their insatiable thirst for chaos and retribution. She pushed through the door and burst into the night, ready to confront whatever lay waiting, but she couldn't shake the feeling that running only invited something worse behind them. What awaited them in the darkness was unknown, but their survival would depend on unraveling the truth. What horrors awaited in the shadows of a familiar street? What could break the silence once and for all? The chill in the air wrapped around Sarah like a suffocating shroud as she bolted into the night. Moonlight sliced through the trees, casting long and twisted shadows on the ground. Each rustle in the leaves felt like a predator stalking them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Where do we go?" Jamie's small voice trembled, breaking the tense silence. Panic tightened around her throat. "Anywhere but here!" She pulled him closer, scanning their surroundings. The street lay still, unnaturally quiet, like a predator lying in wait. But she could feel it, the lurking darkness, the oppressive weight of unseen eyes. They had to keep moving. A howl echoed in the distance. It sent a shiver down her spine. "Mommy, I'm scared!" Jamie cried, his eyes darting back toward the house, as if remembering the horror they had just escaped. "I know, sweetheart. Just hold on to my hand." She felt the tug of dread tighten around her heart, a growing sense of something watching them, something that shouldn't exist. Sarah pushed through the underbrush, her breath coming in sharp bursts. They stumbled into an alley, dimly lit by a flickering street lamp. The remnants of the day slid away, replaced by the creeping shadows that seemed to crawl along the walls. She hated how each shadow had grown teeth, how they seemed alive, waiting to bite. "We can hide here for a minute," she murmured, trying to catch her breath. But as she crouched down beside Jamie, she caught sight of something, a figure lurking at the entrance of the alleyway. Heart racing, she stood abruptly. "Stay behind me." The figure stepped into the light, and her breath caught in her throat. It was a woman, a familiar face twisted in anguish, her hair wild and her clothes torn. The woman's eyes met Sarah's, filled with a desperate urgency that sent dread shivering down her spine. "Help me," the woman gasped, choking on her words. "Who are you?" Sarah managed to say, each syllable heavy with confusion and fear. The recognition tugged at the edges of her memory, yet the woman looked more like a ghost than anything human. "They're all around. They don't want you to know," the woman moaned, her voice barely above a whisper, yet echoing with terror. "You have to." A guttural roar suddenly filled the alley, a sound that rumbled from the depths of hell. The shadows shifted like a tide, swallowing the dim light. The woman's eyes widened in shock, a look of absolute horror etching into her features as she turned from Sarah and Jamie, darting toward a nearby doorway. But before she could reach safety, she was yanked back into the dark, her scream slicing through the air as if it were a knife. "Mommy, no!" Jamie shrieked, clutching Sarah's hand tighter, practically cutting off blood flow. "Run!" Sarah shouted. They bolted down the alley, feet pounding against the pavement, heartbeats drumming in synchrony. Sweat pooled at her brow, stinging into her eyes. The darkness followed, insatiable and relentless. "You can never escape." A chorus echoed in the air, a cruel mockery that seemed to seep from the very shadows. Sarah glanced back, but she could only see endless night. "We need to find somewhere safe." They sprinted around a corner, breathless and desperate, adrenaline surging through her veins. But as they reached the end of the alley, Sarah's heart sank. Before them stood the old park, their old park, now twisted and shrouded in fog. The swings hung empty, swaying with a ghostly creak that echoed a time long gone. The laughter of children ghosted through her mind, replaced by the heavy weight of despair. "Mommy, look!" Jamie pointed, eyes wide with terror. Shadows slithered from the trees, creeping closer, consuming everything in their path. "They're coming!" "Run, Jamie!" she screamed,
pushing him forward, her instincts kicking in. The park's dark embrace felt all too familiar, but it was laced with an eerie sense that this night held deeper horrors waiting to be uncovered. What had awakened in the shadows? What threads of their past continued to unravel, threatening to drag them under? They needed to find the truth before it consumed them, and time was running out. Sarah's breath burned in her chest as they barreled into the park, the bitter chill gnawing at her skin. She pushed Jamie forward, urgency propelling her. The fog twisted around them, a swirling mist that felt alive, pressing against her like a tangible force. "Don't look back," she shouted, even though her instincts screamed to check. But every ounce of reason knew better. They could not afford even a moment of distraction. In this nightmarish realm, the cost could be their lives. "Where do we go?" Jamie's voice cracked as he stumbled over a root, nearly falling as he fought to keep pace. "Just keep moving," Sarah urged, her eyes scanning the endless shifting shadows. The once familiar swings that had once echoed with Jamie's laughter now seemed to sway with an ominous whisper. She could hear it, the soft giggle of children twisted into something grotesque, a sound that pinched her heart and churned her stomach. As they dashed toward the clearing, the shadows lunged closer. They twisted and turned, fingers of darkness reaching for
them. Sarah dared a quick glance behind. Nothing tangible, just an absence of light where they had come, but the feeling was unmistakable. The presence loomed. "Mommy, I'm scared." Jamie's plea cut through her determination like a knife. "I know, babe, but we can't stop," she replied, forcing her voice to stay steady. "We'll find a way out." They reached the center of the park, where a massive old tree stood, its gnarled branches clawing at the sky like a witch's hand. It felt oddly comforting, like an ancient sentinel shielding them. But that thought faded quickly when she noticed 3 figures emerging from the fog, their faces obscured, their bodies shrouded in darkness. "Sarah," one of the figures murmured. The voice was hauntingly familiar, sending a shiver through her as she squinted into the gloom. It was a man she recognized from the neighborhood, a local who always offered a friendly smile. But that smile was gone now, replaced with a twisted expression of dread. "They're here," he gasped, his breath hanging in the air like smoke. "You have to run." When his voice cracked, she felt a simmer of rage. They were all just pieces of a puzzle, trapped in this nightmare together. "Run from what?" she yelled back defiantly. But she knew she couldn't linger. The darkness was already stretching toward them. Turning to Jamie, she gripped his hand tighter. "We have to climb the tree. It's our only chance." "Mommy, I can't." He trembled, questioning the place that once represented fun and safety. "Please, trust me." She hoisted Jamie into her arms and sprinted toward the tree. Together, they reached its base, fumbling for handholds amidst the thick bark. Just as her fingers latched onto a sturdy branch, the frightened cries of the man filled the air. "No, don't let them take you." In a second, he was wrenched back by the shadows, his muffled screams drowned by an eerie silence that followed. It resonated in Sarah's bones, a chilling reminder of the haste they need just to survive. "Don't look down," she panted as they scaled the tree. Light slipped from below, the shadows swelling in frenzy, their frantic claws scraping the tree's trunk. As they reached a branch that provided a precarious perch, Sarah peered down through the branches. The figures were circling, searching, their movements frantic. The echoes of their cries were swallowed by the creeping fog, leaving only quiet terror in its wake. Somewhere deep inside her, fear morphed into steely resolve. They had to uncover the truth hidden within the shadows, to expose the roots of this nightmare. "What do they want?" Jamie whispered, his small voice trembling. "I don't know," she admitted, looking into his eyes, determining to shield him from the reality. The truth felt just beyond reach, waiting to be unearthed, waiting to pull them deeper into the impending darkness. The branches shivered under the weight of their fear, but they didn't have long.
The darkness gnawed at them, urging action, pulling them toward
answers. Where would the next horrifying revelation lead them? And how far would they have to dig into their pasts to find the truth they desperately needed to survive this night? The tree swayed slightly, as if it too felt the frightful presence circling below. Sarah's pulse raced with a fear she couldn't ignore. She tightened her grip on Jamie, who trembled in her arms, his small body quaking with every anguished scream echoing in the distance. The shadows teemed like a living entity, and every second was a reminder of how fragile their grasp on safety was. "Stay still," she whispered, her voice barely soaring above the low growls that emerged from the darkened figures below. They were searching, their heads twitching as if they smelled their quarry. She fought against the chill creeping into her bones, focusing on Jamie's soft breaths. Suddenly, a piercing shriek cut through the fog. It rose high and quickly shifted into a chilling laughter, warped enough to freeze her blood. Jamie's eyes widened, and he clamped his hands over his ears, whimpering softly, "Mommy, what if they find us?" His innocence echoed in the gloom, a terrifying reminder that they were not safe, not even high above the chaos. "Then we'll fight back," she said, though her heart fluttered with doubt. The words felt flimsy, a lie wrapped in bravado. The shadows shifted again, their silhouettes morphing into shapes that snagged at the edges of her vision. Every layer of mist felt alive, whispering their fears. As silence fell, Sarah hesitated, pulsing with panic. Did they leave? No. The chilling vibe tugged at her gut, and she dared to peer through the branches. They were there, hunched and shadowy. 3 figures now stood rooted beneath the tree, their forms indistinct. It felt as if they were playing a game, waiting for them to falter, to slip. Then one figure stepped into the dim light, a doll-like face revealing a grotesque smile. It was a child, but in that moment, she was an essence of predation. Innocence turned malicious. The eyes, hollow and dark, spoke of insatiable hunger. "Come play with us," it crooned, the voice a mix of honeydew and malice. "It's more fun down here." "Stay quiet, Jamie," Sarah whispered through clenched teeth, a frantic warning embedded in her voice. "I want to go home." Jamie squeezed her tighter, tears mixing with the dampness of her shirt. "I want that too," she breathed out. But the truth sliced deeper. This park was their home now. The kids, they were not kids. They were something darker, a reflection of lost souls churned into evil, fed by fear and despair. "Join us. We have some new friends." The treble of their voices felt like claws dragging across her spine. Beyond the child, the figures began to converge, closing ranks under the old tree. Their shadows twisted and elongated, creeping toward the base like a flood of darkness intent on swallowing them whole. "No!" Sarah shouted, a surge of adrenaline pushing back the weight of despair. She hoisted Jamie higher, yelling down, "You'll never take us!" But in her heart, a dark seed of doubt sprouted. Would they have to confront whatever lay beneath? The ground trembled, and the tree's gnarled branches twisted in unison, howling against the growing peril below. "Why don't you come down?" another voice sang, a siren call layered with echoing laughter. A burst of rage erupted within her. "We're not like you!" she spat. Her voice echoed within the stillness of the fog. She felt Jamie shaking, knew he could feel the madness beckoning. Their laughter intensified, coy and sinister, soaring like hellish music into the air. Sarah's heart raced, panic setting in. They had to climb higher, find a sanctuary among the branches, but the shadows moved with serpentine grace. Then something shimmered behind them, momentarily illuminating the stark tree trunk. A figure loomed at the edge of their perch, the madness swirling closer. It resembled the silhouette of the man they had encountered earlier, the friendly neighbor turned ghostly apparition, mouth twisted before hastily spilling over with terrified words. "Get out of here! The tree keeps them! It's an anchor!" "What does that mean?" The words rushed out, but Sarah barely caught the scene morphing at the edge of the tree. Panic ignited as the figures below crawled closer, reaching toward them, fingers stretching, craving something human. Sweat trickled down Sarah's spine. She could feel their breath, see their anticipation flaring. "Mommy, please," Jamie sobbed, the sound taut and raw. The branches creaked, time slipping in a tide of uncertainty. Sarah's world spiraled as she faced the choice: stay and confront the dark, or flee toward uncertainty. Her resolve shimmered and wavered. She could sense the suffocating dread tightening around them. Escape depended on her next move. Would the truth offer safety, or plunge them deeper into the dark? With shadows spiraling closer, she took a breath, feeling the weight of their fate in the air. It was a moment suspended in terror. Every heartbeat echoed like thunder. "Hold on tight," she whispered, a fierce urgency lighting her gaze. But what would they find if they let go? Would the tree fight for them, or betray them to the waiting darkness? With every heartbeat, Sarah felt the oppressive weight of the shadows coiling tighter around them. The whispering figures below twisted in an endless dance, their laughter sharpening into shards that pierced the night. Jamie's hold tightened, his small fingers digging into her arms, a grip that felt both desperate and fragile. "Mommy, I'm scared," he whimpered, his voice trembling like a fragile twig caught in a storm. "I know, sweetie," she murmured, swallowing back her own fear, "but we have to be brave." The figure with the doll-like face tilted its head, the grotesque smile stretching further. "Brave? You think that helps? You can't escape." It was a taunt now, resonating in the air, echoing like a twisted lullaby, as the shadows slinked closer. Pooling at the tree's base, Sarah felt the tears rising in her throat. Time seemed to suspend, every second stretching out like a tightly wound coil ready to snap. "Maybe if we climb higher," she said, scanning the thick branches overhead. "Just a little higher." Another figure emerged, a boy dressed in tattered clothes, long hair streaming wildly around his hollow eyes. "You'll only make it worse. We're all trapped here." "Quiet," Sarah spat, anger bubbling alongside her terror. "You're lying." But doubt gnawed at her. The tree had roots deep enough to anchor their fears, but could it also hold their salvation? She glanced back down, and the grotesque child lifted a hand, fingers elongated and claw-like, extending toward them. "Just come down, and we'll have fun. It's lonely up there." With a flash of dread, Sarah's mind spiraled, racing through the tales she had heard. Children disappearing from the park, claimed by the night. What if it was this dark place that devoured souls? It was as if the stories had come alive, manifesting around her in a suffocating whirlwind of despair. "Mommy!" Jamie cried out, and his voice pulled her back. She focused on him, brightly lit in the dark sea of twisted shadows. His eyes were wide, searching, begging for reassurance. She had to do something, and quickly. A plan ignited, raw and unformed. "We'll climb, just keep moving." With determined resolve, she started to scramble higher up the branches, each movement met with creaking protests from the old tree. The height brought a fleeting sense of safety, but the shadows below writhed eagerly, crawling closer, their unholy laughter growing louder with every inch they ascended. The boy cried out, "You can't escape! They'll find you! We're all part of the tree!" "Shut up!" Sarah screamed back, pushing past the mounting fear. "Stop trying to scare us!" But inside, panic ate away at her thoughts, as faint smells of decay wafted up to them, curling around her spirit like a damp, cold shroud. Branches scraped against her skin. Each scratch felt like the brush of icy fingers from those below. The whispers started again, pressing against her ears, speaking truths she didn't want to acknowledge. "Join us, sister. You won't be alone." "Mommy!" Jamie's voice quivered like a fragile bell, pulling her thoughts back from the edge of madness. "Don't listen. Keep climbing." But as they reached a cluster of thick boughs, something changed. The shadows twisted, rising in a swirling vortex around the tree, wrapping themselves around the trunk, pulling at it as if trying to uproot it. The boy laughed again, a series of high-pitched cackles that bounced off the bark. "You think you can hide? The tree won't let you go." Suddenly, the laughter broke, fractured, as a deeper voice emerged from the depths of the gloom, a gravelly growl that resonated within the ground. "You have chosen, Sarah." Her heart thundered as the boy's voice echoed, "You will be here forever." With one last hopeful look at Jamie, Sarah felt the darkness closing in, and a scream clawed its way up her throat. Where was the escape? Then, in a flash, the tree trembled violently, and Sarah felt a sudden sharp snap, her world tilting. They were falling. "No!" she shrieked, instinctively grabbing Jamie, holding him close, but the ground rushed up to meet them. What would happen when they landed in that pool of waiting shadows? Would it be blanketed in their terrifying laughter, or was there something far worse lurking in the depths? And then the shadows surged forward, stretching out like hungry hands, ready to claim them both. Impact. The ground collided with them like a thunderous wave, a wave of despair crashing down. Sarah gasped, the wind knocked from her lungs, pain blooming in her sides. She blinked through the dim haze, struggling to focus as the cold earth wrapped around her. Jamie lay beside her, his eyes wide, shimmering with shock and fear. "Mommy?" His voice was barely a whisper, a trembling leaf caught in a gust. "I'm here. I'm right here," she managed to reply, clenching his tiny hand. The darkness pressed in around them, thick and suffocating, swallowing every thread of warmth. Shadows loomed, their shapes shifting like nightmares come to life. "Run!" a distant voice echoed. Sarah turned to see the boy from the tree, his face now a mask twisted in horror. "You have to run!" He pointed to the swirling shadows that were coiling and unfurling like snakes. She could see them now, elongated limbs, jagged fingers reaching for them, the hollow laughter surging like a wave ready to drown. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah pulled Jamie to his feet, ignoring the protests of her aching body. "We have to go!" she cried, her voice stronger than she felt. But the ground quaked beneath them, and the shadows danced closer, the chilling laughter growing louder, engulfing them. The boy's form, a flicker of brightness, faded into the swarm of dark. "Mommy, I can't move!" Jamie whimpered, his feet glued to the earth as if it were trying to hold him down. "Please, Jamie," she pulled at him, her fingers slipping against his clammy skin. "You have to listen to me. We can't let them take us." Just then, the air shifted. The darkness seemed to pull back momentarily, as if a door had cracked open in the night. Sarah squinted into the void and saw one flickering light. A lantern swaying gently in the distance, illuminating just enough to reveal a narrow path lined with gnarled roots and brambles. "Look, over there!" Sarah shouted, pointing towards the flickering beacon, hope igniting in her heart. "That way!" No sooner had the words left her mouth than a shadow shot forward, its claw-like hand reaching for them with supernatural speed. Sarah barely dodged, yanking Jamie away just in time. "Follow me!" she screamed, and they took off toward the light. Every pounding step echoing against the dark. Behind them, the laughter crescendoed, a cacophony that reverberated through the night. The air turned cold, and the shadows began to chase,
the growling voice returning. "You can't outrun us. We know every secret, every fear." As they raced, the lantern flickered, revealing the jagged edges of the old path, vines brushing against their skin, snatching at them like desperate hands. Each breath felt heavier, but they couldn't stop. They burst into a clearing, the harsh light revealing the grotesque figures swarming behind them. Sarah stumbled, nearly falling, but she caught Jamie, wrapping her arms around him like a shield. The lantern swung wildly, illuminating a crumbling statue in the middle of the clearing. An old guardian, its face contorted in eternal agony. "Mommy!" Jamie screamed, pointing. "What's wrong with that statue?" "I don't know. We have to keep moving." But the figures were closer now, shadows evaporating into black smoke as they formed into shapes. Sarah's heart raced, and she felt her resolve waver. They were trapped, a circle of horrors tightening around them. The flashlight beam from the lantern shimmered towards the statue, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance, morphing into a form she recognized. The face appeared again, the doll-like figure at the forefront. "Join us, Sarah," it sang, voice sweet yet sinister. "You belong here." "Never," she spat defiantly, but doubt crept in her mind. What if it was right? What if this was the end? "Mommy!" Jamie's voice shattered her focus, trembling, fear flickering in his eyes. And that was when she saw it. At the base of the statue, a crack formed, yawning wide enough to swallow the whole world. It pulsed like a heartbeat, a rhythmic pounding that echoed her own. Was it a way out or a way in? "Hold on, Jamie," she cried, voice shattering against the rising madness. "We need to jump." As the shadows danced closer, the pulsating crack echoed louder, vibrating through the ground, whispering promises and secrets untold. Could they escape, or was it a trap that would swallow them whole? And as she took a step toward the crack, the shadows coiled, ready to strike, leaving only one terrifying question that hung in the air like an omen. What awaited them on the other side? The void beckoned, opening like the hungry jaws of some ancient beast, pulsing with a hypnotic rhythm that echoed through the clearing. Sarah could feel its pull, a sinister allure dragging her toward the darkness. But she clung to Jamie, her heart thundering in her chest. She wouldn't let him go, not now, not ever. "Mommy, I'm scared," Jamie whimpered, his small body trembling in her grip. "I'm scared too," she whispered, the admission a prickly truth in the heavy air. But whatever horrors lurked behind them felt more threatening than the yawning crack before them. A guttural roar erupted from the shadows, ripping through the fog with feral rage. The figures surged forward, their laughter morphing into shrieks of insanity. They were closing in on them, a wave of darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. Gritting her teeth, Sarah turned to the pulsating crack, uncertainty clawing at her throat. What lay beyond? An escape or a deeper darkness? She had no time to question it. She could feel the shadows prodding at her, eager to claim their prey. "On the count of 3, we jump!" she shouted over the cacophony of terror. Jamie nodded, eyes wide, trusting her even when every instinct screamed to flee. 1, 2, 3! With all the strength she could muster, she leaped. Time felt suspended, an endless moment of breathless flight before they plunged into the crack. The world evaporated around them, a swirl of shadows and whispers dissolving into the cool darkness. And then, a jarring impact. They landed hard on what felt like moist earth, rolling to absorb the force of the fall. Sarah gasped, scrambling to her feet, scanning the dimly lit environment. They were in a cavern, a vast, echoing space lined with stone that glistened in the gentle light of phosphorescent fungi. The atmosphere was damp and heavy, with a strange, sweet smell. Shapes flickered in the shadows, formless and silent, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. "Mommy," Jamie's voice wavered, breaking through the palpable silence. "It's okay, Jamie. We're safe, I think." But the realization hung in the air. Wherever they were, it felt both a refuge and a tomb. Choking back the dread swelling in her chest, Sarah scanned their surroundings. "We need to find a way out." As they trekked further into the cavern, the bioluminescent light illuminated etchings on the walls, ancient symbols swirling together to depict scenes of torment and shadows devouring figures. She shivered, their grotesque beauty hinting at long-buried secrets. "Mommy," Jamie pointed at a tattered tapestry hanging limply from the wall. It depicted a family, similar to hers, but their faces twisted in terror, watched over by a looming mass of shadows. "What is that?" she murmured, eyes narrowing at the chilling image. It felt uncomfortable, yet familiar. The whispers returned, echoing her deepest fears, taunting her with the pulses of the shadows she had once thought she could escape. "Mommy, it's getting dark again." Jamie trembled, clutching her hand tighter. Before she could reassure him, the ground trembled, and shadows seeped from the walls, congealing into the forms they had escaped. The familiar laughter echoed, wrapping around them like chains, pushing her back into panic's embrace. "We've come to claim what belongs to us," a voice boomed, resonating through the cavern. "No, we will not let you take us," Sarah shouted, summoning every ounce of her resolve. She could feel Jamie watching her, his innocence fueling her fight against the creeping despair. "You cannot have us." The figures hesitated, as though her words bore weight. Clenching her jaw, she stepped closer to the advancing shadows. "You think you can ensnare us with your tricks? I will fight!" Armed with defiance, she gathered all the courage within her and advanced, her voice steady despite her fear. "We are not afraid of you!" The shadows hissed, recoiling momentarily. The laughter dimmed, replaced by disquieting murmurs, unsure at her fierceness. But as quickly as her words pierced, a chill swept through the cavern, darkness invading the edges once more. "Mommy!" Jamie cried again, dragging her back from despair. "No, we can't let them get to us!" she shouted, anchoring her will against the curling tendrils of darkness. "Listen to me!" "Join us! We yearn for you!" the shadows thrummed, pressing forward again, the sinister cadence like a heartbeat, urging surrender. Sarah stilled, her breath freezing in her throat. She had encountered this darkness before, within the recesses of fear lurking in her heart. This darkness was a manifestation of every truth she had avoided, of grief and guilt that tangled her mind. "Not today!" she snarled, her voice cutting through the thick haze of anxiety. "I will not succumb to the lies you spin!" With fierce determination, she strained to think of the light they had found, the warmth eclipsing the cold. Taking a deep breath, she conjured the memories she held dear. Frozen laughter, the love between them that could withstand even this storm of shadows. "Together, we are stronger!" she shouted, turning to Jamie, who met her gaze with wide, resolute eyes. Together, they stepped forward, arms wide, embracing the light inside them. As they drew strength from their bond, the shadows writhed angrily, distorting around the pull of their combined light. Sarah felt the warmth radiate, igniting into a blaze that illuminated the cavern. It was a pulse of hope against despair, fierce and unwavering. "No more!" she commanded. With a vivid flash, the shadows shrieked, their forms disintegrating into the radiance emanating from their hearts. The laughter twisted into cries of retreat, fading into the unfathomable depths from which they had crawled. The air glazed over, warmth flooding the cavern as Sarah and Jamie stood together, triumphant, still trembling but filled with resolve. Every shadow evaporated, whispers silenced beneath the embrace of the light they had awakened. "We did it!" Jamie exploded with joy, jumping into her arms, laughter spilling in cascades.
"Yes, we did," she breathed, relief washing over her like a warm tide. They had faced the dark together. In stumbling blind through terror, they had discovered the light within, the anchor that held them steady in the storm. With a strength born from love, they could finally step toward the dawn breaking beyond the cavern's walls. "Let's go home," she whispered, feeling the warmth of family surrounding them. The exit glimmered before her, a path leading back into the world, one irrevocably changed, but still welcoming, still filled with possibility. As they stepped forward, nothing could hold them back. They would emerge from those shadows, and they would remember. Each step would carry with them the truth that they had embraced.
Their fears and released them into the night. They were free to create their own light, to build upon the strength forged in darkness. "We're going to be okay," she murmured, a whisper of promise as they plunged into the warmth of dawn, the shadows left far behind. But even with their triumph, another question lingered in her heart. What new beginnings awaited them in the light? If you've enjoyed this journey through darkness into the light, you need to subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. So smash that like button now. Your support feeds the algorithm and keeps more tales just like this alive. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild twist. Share your story with us. Lastly, don't wait even one more second to share this adventure with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's spread the word and keep each other safe. Together, we can explore the depths of storytelling, and every click helps us reach even more souls. What are you waiting for?